Royal expert Patricia Treble joins us with another Royal Roundup, and we're going to begin with Remembrance Sunday, one of the most important dates on the royal calendar. And we had all the royals in attendance in the UK except for the Queen.
Yeah, so Queen Camilla has a chest infection and had to cancel all the Remembrance engagements. She has a lot of them usually, had to cancel everything. And now the palace has said it's a seasonal thing. She's had these before. And she's due back this week. She's going to be on Wednesday, going to be doing the world premiere of Gladiator 2. But it was something that she always likes being to, because her father served in the Second World War. He was a prisoner of war. He was a hero. And she likes taking part in these. So it would have been a big thing for her not to be able to be there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, hopefully the Queen is feeling better sooner rather than later. Meantime, Princess Katherine attended two weekend events. And is this being seen, maybe, Patricia, as a bit of a turning point when it comes to her health?
Yeah, this is very much so. On the royal health front, if Queen Camilla is a step back, this is two big strides forward, because she was at the two big events. So Remembrance Festival at Royal Albert Hall and Remembrance Service at the Cenotaph. And these are must attend events if you can. And to put this in perspective, you're thinking, oh, it's two events. She's only done three before for this entire year. So this is a big deal. And what we're hearing is that this is now the turning point. She's going to be ramping up her engagements. There's some really big things coming up. There's a state visit of the Emir of Bahrain. All sorts of big things coming up. Her Christmas Carol concert, so it'll be interesting to see how much more she does. And Prince William last week said he hopes that she will be joining him for royal tours next year.
All right. Well, we'll wait and see on that.
Exactly.
Looking back to last week, the Earthshot Prize in South Africa, it was nice to see Prince William quite candid with the media there.
Yeah, so he really hasn't talked about this year and how, with his wife and his father having cancer, he really hasn't talked about it. He was very open and frank. And he talked about it. The language was something, because he talked about how brutal a year it was, that it was incredibly difficult to keep everything on the straight and narrow. And he said it was the hardest year of perhaps the hardest year of his entire life. And that puts it in perspective, because when you consider he was only 15 when his mum died, that this was probably the hardest year. He looked great, though, I'm going to say, at Earthshot. He looked so relaxed and so happy. And I think because now we are turning that corner with both the health of Kate and the King. And so looking forward, it seems to be much more hope.
And he can relax a little bit.
A little bit.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of the King's health, he has opened up about his fitness routine.
Yep.
Let's talk about King Charles' fitness routine for a second, if we can.
And the Canadian connection, because...
Yes, and the two-a-day workouts?
So, 2 a day, yeah. So, he and his father, Prince Philip, have always been longtime aficionados of the Royal Canadian Air Force 5BX program. Now, this is a classic thing, dates back to the 60s. 5BX is 5 basic exercises. It's 11 minutes, all body weight. You can do various levels of intensity, and they have done it they did it for decades. And so he was at a reception for Olympic and Paralympic athletes, and he talked about it. Twice a day, lots of squats, that's the 5BX, and he uses a pull-up bar. Now, he has a bad back. Years of polo has ruined his back, and so we know that he uses a pull-up bar, and he does headstands.
Oh, wow. What?
Exactly.
Has he Instagrammed that yet?
Yes, not.
No? Okay.
Okay, we also have an update on Prince Andrew. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about how the King was cutting off his allowance.
Yeah.
What is new there?
Oh, the story that won't end. So, King cut off his allowance. King cut off the private security that he was paying for Andrew. So, Andrew has apparently shown his books to palace financial officials and said, yeah, he's got enough money to maintain his big mansion. It's Royal Lodge. 30-room historic mansion needs always lots of maintenance and stuff like that. He's been able to prove he's raised enough money to keep it going. Now, King, of course, wants him out, but he can't. There's a lease. Now, two questions that immediately come to mind is, how did he raise the money, and how long is it going to last? So I think this is a story that maybe it'll go in abeyance for a year or two, but then I think it's going to come back to the fore.
All right. To be continued.
Yes.
Also, finally, I want to talk about this new book on Brexit, which contains some interesting insight on what Queen Elizabeth reportedly thought of former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Yes.
So this is a book by one of the top political journalists in Britain. And if you remember back to the very last days of the Queen's life, 2 days before she died, Boris Johnson and Liz Truss flew to Balmoral for Boris Johnson to resign and Liz Truss to become Prime Minister. And apparently the Queen rather cheekily said, and because she was known for, not holding back sometimes at times, said, well, at least I won't have that idiot planning my funeral.
Oh.
Oy.
Oy.
And I'm going to say there was a lot of bad blood between the two because in the whole Brexit thing, Boris Johnson and a lot of people have said had deliberately deceived the Queen and palace officials about some of the things he was doing, to the point that one of his own advisors asked if the Queen could fire the Prime Minister. So I think this Queen's comment was just one of those reactions, and it shows that there's not always a good relationship sometimes between monarch and Prime Minister.
Which also the Crown depicted quite well and accurately in that sense, right?
Exactly. So, and now the Queen is always known for being very, very neutral, very, she knows her constitutional duty, but especially the last few days of her life certainly was, being a little freer with what she thought.
Finally.
Finally. Exactly. After 96 years,
right,
you can let go a bit.
Yeah. All right, Patricia, thank you so much. Good to see you as always. Appreciate it.
Welcome.